Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the new moon in Leo. And isn't it just a new moon in Leo for us here, because it is sweltering in London. It's 93 Fahrenheit. Do not laugh. We don't have air conditioning, and sorry for the perspiration. Anyway, so I'm going to try my best just to introduce you to audio, which is quite long this time. It's 20 minutes. You'll have free on YouTube, and the other 40 minutes is going to be on Patreon. So here's just a little taster to see what this new moon is best for and what it's worst for. So this new moon is best for finding your tribe, mobilizing spiritual warriors, uniting against the empire but not striking yet. Principals, it's best for principals, leaders, installing locks and burglary alarms. So if you want to know why, you'll just have to listen on, and I'll explain why those random weird connections there. The new moon is worst for unreliable types, traffickers, we know what that means, vampires, construction, farming, rivalry, blind loyalty, hydras, buying clothes and cutting your hair. So let's get on with the audio. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the new moon in Leo. It's going to be in Decan 3, so it's at 26 degrees of Leo. Now, this one has a lot going on with it. It's going to be a very difficult one to kind of unpack, really, but we'll try. So here are the 8 important factors for this moon. Number 1, it will take place in Leo Decan 3, which I call the divine right of kings, because the super duper fixed star, royal star of Persia, Regulus is there. It's probably the closest fixed star to the ecliptic. So it kind of, that is the path of the sun. So it very much is the passage of the king. Number 2, it will trigger the solar eclipse that happened in August of 2017. So the 21st of August. I keep finding links back to that as being an important time. And that eclipse was at 28 Leo, and it was on Trump's ascendant and his Mars, I think, as well. Yeah, his Mars on Regulus. And it was in America. So that was a really important turning point. So we'll look into that. Now, the new moon will also be on Alphard, which is in the neck of Hydra, the water snake. And that is associated with poisons. So we'll, I think that might be to do with a certain computer nerd and his injections. So, have to talk in code now. And that brings me to Mercury as well. The new moon will be conjunct Mercury, the trickster Mercury, which is on Regulus. What else? Oh, yes, the new moon, number 5, is part of a yod to Saturn. Number 6, the moon is trine Mars Eris, which is in conjunction at the moment, which I think is very interesting. And that is to do with probably trafficking in some way. It's also square the Saturn-Pluto midpoint, so that is empire. I really like that term. That's my new term for those Elites. Number 7, the moon takes place in the 9th lunar mansion, which is called Altaf, and that's the eye of the great celestial lion. It's very much about constellation Leo. By the way, I use the lunar mansions that most people use are the tropical version, but I use the sidereal because it fits much more with the fixed stars. So, I'm using visual astrology here. And finally, number 8, the new moon tarot card is the 7 of Wands. So let's look at moon in Decan 3 of Leo first, because it really is all about leadership. You just have to look at the list of people who have this now. Moon in Leo Decan 3 is Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, Eva Peron, Mohandas Gandhi, Benjamin Disraeli, British Prime Minister, Prince Philip. Yeah, so it's definitely got that leadership quality for sure. So this position really makes formidable commanders in times of war when life or death decisions need to be made quickly. Now, we're not really in a time of war, but we are kind of. Well, we are. It's just that the decisions, I guess, are made. Well, it does feel like time is speeding up, but it's not that sort of physical life or death situation. But it is definitely that we need to make decisions before somebody sticks a needle in our arm. I don't think it's going to be mandatory, but I do think we just need to be very, very well informed. And the only thing that seems to be obvious now, and I heard this from Veritas Media, that people who work on Google, they say that there's going to be another huge cull of people who say anything against stings. Now, Alphard, by the way, is poison, and I think because this first half is going to be on YouTube, I have to just be careful what I say here. But doesn't that just show you where we really are at the moment? So we have to, we need to spread the word as much as possible. Now I can find there's so many amazing channels out there now, and some that I've just come across now, and I'm sure they've been going for years. Anyway, that's another story that maybe I should talk about later on. But yeah, there are some amazing ones now, and we are appointing leaders ourselves, because we do need leaders. It can't just be anarchy. So this decan, it calls for tough love. It's about not sugarcoating for the sake of popularity. And all these kind of leaders that I have found recently, they've all been called, the usual names that people get called for. Just anyway, again, this is for part 2. See, I'm being muzzled already, and I'm trying to get through this part 1 as best I can. But what I'm thinking is describing very well the sort of people who will not be muzzled. And it takes a certain type of person to do that. And these people are being called selfish by people who are wearing the masks, So, I mean, yeah, let's just read this because it does describe the new leaders that we will need to rally around and support. But with Decan 3 of Leo, a sign that seems so ego-driven, it's surprising that these people are actually more about helping others than themselves. I mean, it is surprising, but it does depend on how evolved the soul is, because with other harsh aspects, there can be a ruthless drive and tyrannical tendencies as well. So, it will come with that. It's just how you handle power. Often these natives have a difficult childhood where they really have to fight to be themselves. It leaves them tough and belligerent, that in some becomes more forceful as they age. It all depends how ignited these tendencies are by other factors in the chart. So, So if we think of this actual new moon, what is being activated? Is it being aggravated? No, actually it's not, because it's part of a minor grand trine, actually. But it's the closest aspect is Mercury, and it is part of a yod. So it is complicated because it is kind of being aggravated, the tyrannical tendencies, but not really. As long as it's focused on the Saturn Pluto, which I think is the trafficking, to be honest. I saw a really amazing protest, and it definitely looked like grassroots. It wasn't a Soros sponsored thing, with people protesting against Hollywood degeneracy, let's put it that way. And they were holding signs saying children's lives matter, which is, something we can all get behind. This is the big thing now. No more divide and conquer. So that's going to be the theme of this moon, really, that what I'm going to discuss later. I've named it Find Your Tribe because, with Leo, it is all about finding your tribe. And then those separate tribes can all unite under one common mission, which is what the yod is all about. And, this yod is squarely pointing at Saturn Pluto. So, it's not conjunct at the moment, but it's pointing at the midpoint because, it's Saturn. It's actually pointing at Saturn. Sorry, it's not the midpoint. It is actually pointing to Saturn, this yod. 26, 26, 26. Wow. What is Saturn on at the moment? It's not on any particular star. But the midpoint of that will be 24. So, yes, that's the midpoint. Sorry. The Mars Eris is square the midpoint of those two. So that's important. And these are the whistleblowers. These are us. These are the spiritual warriors. And these are the protesters. And we've had the protest in Berlin, which, by the way, I think the media reported it as 17,000 people. Oh my God. It was at least, the marchers said it was like 1 million. I don't know if it was 1 million. Of course, they're going to say that. But I think the truth is somewhere in between. So I think somebody said it was more like 100,000 for sure. You could see it was massive. And I cannot believe I saw a news from, I think it was CNN. They were calling them all right. My God, if they're all right, far right, that's it. They were saying they were far right protesters. If there's that many of them, oh my God. Oh, obviously, because I think this was an American channel. And obviously, Berlin, it's Germans. Oh my God. So that's what they call them because they were German. Why? Oh, anyway. But you could see in the crowd, you could see some of them. They were just like, they were the sort of Germans I see on holiday in Greece. They're the naturalists, they're like old German hippies. Lovely folk, keep themselves to themselves. Then, they are as far away from, the far right as you could get, honestly. Basically hippies. And it's amazing that they actually did that. I just thought there's real hope there. So back to Leo 3. Yeah, these are also the most courageous of all the Leos here. Even if they rub people up the wrong way, they're admired for their great courage. As a head of a nation, company or family, they are trailblazers and will do whatever it takes to protect those in their care. So that's the protection of the children thing. The roaring lioness who protects her cubs. Yeah, it's the most obvious symbol. And on the mundane level, this is the great patriot, willing to die for their country. It's certainly best to keep these natives as your friend and not your enemy. Loyalty is their number one demand. So woe betide you if you betray them, especially when it's close to Alphard. And this is where the revenge problem comes into it because, these people will suffer greatly if they stoop to revenge, and they won't care who else they bring down with them. Because that's to do with Regulus as well. Like if Regulus stoops to revenge, then they can become, leaders. They can become really famous. They can become hugely successful. But if they fall prey to revenge tactics, then they just take a great fall. So that's what Regulus is famous for. So I think at this time, we just must not let ourselves get triggered by the divide and conquer. I mean, this is what's been going on with the whole BLM, with the whole, that's kind of become old news now. I don't know what the latest thing is now, but that was interesting because it did ignite a lot of, I think it empowered a lot of Black and ethnic minorities. It empowered them a lot. And I think it's backfired because I don't get the feeling that they were taking it out on white people, really. I think they just came into their own power. I don't know what it was like in America, but from what I could see, with the riots, remember the riots, and they could see that, people had left bricks there, and they could see that it was the Antifa doing the, a lot of the well, the majority of the rioting. And I could also see that papers that I was kind of thinking were not truthful, but they would be the only papers that would report immigration, well, problems with immigration, really, and that's the Daily Mail. But that is known as being, it's a populist paper, really. But now I just think it's totally not worth reading these Breitbart Daily Mail things, because they are just race baiting. They really are, from the other side, and it's put me off. I don't read them anymore. Even Nigel Farage, who I used to quite like because of the whole Brexit thing. I mean, all he's doing now is moaning about immigrants coming across the channel, and I just think, there's bigger things to fight for now. It's like, who cares if that's happening when it's clear that they want to kill all of us. It's not just I can't even mention it because that'll probably flag up Google. But let's put it this way. Before, it was the alt-right were very concerned about the Democrats in, Western homelands, shall we say. Again, I know America's a different thing altogether, and it's a melting pot and blah, blah, blah. But, in the West in general, in Europe, where these are our homelands, really. So they were, of course, concerned about that. But now I'm thinking, I wonder if the solution to that is what Bill Gates is really coming up with, because it's really weird that they're encouraging people still, they're still being helped across from Africa. And yet at the same time, there is definitely a culling going on in Africa. So I can see, and India as well, by Mr. Nerdy. And so that in that case, that's the lives that BLM should be worried about. They should be worried about the fact that a lot of women in Africa were sterilized by the program instigated by Nerdy. So yeah, it's an obvious, you can so see it. And also the whole fact that Black and ethnic minorities were more likely to get the virus as well. You can see we'll give it to you first because you're more at risk. Oh, it just, so it's obviously not just, they're not targeting one specific ethnicity, but I do think they're targeting people who are most likely to rebel. And what's given me hope is that, the most feisty opponents of Nerdy and Empire are from the Black community. Mainly, it seems, from the Christian, because a lot of them are naturally powerful orators. So, and they're ministers as well. And this Dr. Stella Emmanuel, just amazing. She's just amazing. So, sorry, the planes are really strong today. I have to have the window open because it's 32 degrees in London and the fan will be too noisy. So, I'm just going to swelter here. Her and I can't remember this other guy, but anyway, that really, really heartened me, because you get a very distorted view of the Black side of opinion when most of it is just the sort of BLM side that comes into the news. And that's the problem. We're being shown these extremes of either side. So, but I think people are seeing through that now, and that's a good thing. I think before I go to part 2, I just want to just discuss the tarot card. That is the 7 of Wands, and that's all about competitiveness. So it really does go with this decan. It fits well with the fact that Mars rules this decan as well. Forgot to mention that. And the keywords for this card are rivalry, competition, territory, maintaining power control, staying at the top, resolve, leaders, power, control, principles, taking the higher ground, holding your own, strong personality, assertive, being certain, convinced, being forceful, defensive and aggressive, or being under attack and fighting. So even gossip is in there, which can be a theme with that position because of the poison that flies out of Alphard's neck, you know. So that makes me think of the horrible mainstream media, the lies that they come out with, the venom that they spit. So this can be, generally this card comes up when you must stand up for yourself and not let others take advantage of you. Those who are more confident will have bright, burning ambition. It suggests that you are going after what you want and are prepared to fight your way to the top. So yeah, it is slaying your enemies, really. Your personality is strong, forthright, very confident. Yeah, it's all the same themes of Moon in Leo, Decan 3. Because the moon is also territory, isn't it? And it's all about the homeland. The warning really here is make sure you pace yourself. You do not want to burn out before you reach the finish line. And that is important for this moon because of the fact that this moon takes place in the 9th lunar mansion, which is the Altaf, the Eye of the Great Lion, which is not a very fortunate mansion, but we'll talk about that in more detail in part 2. So in part 2, I will go into more detail about my own journey with changing perspectives, really, about the different sides in all this, the divide and conquer side. And also we'll talk about the healing crystal, the tiger's eye, and the actual star Alphard as well. And I'll just kind of free flow, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I think it's going to be more to do with finding your spiritual tribe and, the pitfalls on the way to awakening, because you do get pulled into, you can get, radicalized. You can get radicalized into the right as well as the left. So I want to talk about that a bit more. So do become a patron. The £5 a month, sorry, not £5, it's $5 a month will get you access to part 2 of this, plus other matrix reports that I do, and there are other tiers as well that get you even more stuff like free horoscopes and things like that. So do come to Patreon and see what you can get. And thanks for listening. All the best. Bye-bye.